IRC Murtaza Kachwala sir and Treasurer Piyush Chandak, please be on the dais. On behalf of WIRC, it's really a pleasure to welcome you all. I welcome you all. It's really a pleasure to be with you today. So before formally start the session, I request everyone to please rise for the ICAI motto.
येष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति येष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामंशो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्वैता
Thank you. Friends, in WIRC this year, under the able leadership of our chairman, Murtaza Kachwala sir, we all are trying to perform at our level best. And this year, our main focus is on technology and ethics, because we all know that how technology is playing an important role in our day-to-day life. So how best we can use the latest technology in our work so we can upgrade ourselves. So I recognize the presence on the dais is Murtaza Kachwala sir, Chairman, Treasurer CA Piyush Chandak, and our first speaker and Central Council member CA Durgesh Kabra. Virtually, he has joined us. So before moving further, I request to our chairman to please address to the gathering.
Thank you, Shweta. Good morning to everyone. Good morning. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you. At the outset, let me first thank Central Council member CA Durgesh Kabra ji. Durgesh bhai, thank you very much for allowing WIRC to host this program under your guidance and leadership. I think the man responsible for this whole AQMM, Durgesh bhai, is an excellent work, and I'm sure during this 3 hours, we'll all know how detailed it is and how useful it is for our firms. I know that Durgesh bhai is not keeping well, but still he decided to join and explain to us and give us his views. So thank you, Durgesh bhai, but please take care of your health as well. Let me also thank the speaker, CA Vijay Maniar ji, and also Manish Sampat will be joining us. Thank you, sir, for sparing your valuable time to share your knowledge with all the participants. Let me thank Secretary WIRC Shweta Jain, Treasurer Piyush Chandak, and all the 20 regional council members for all the good work that is being done. It needs tremendous amount of efforts and time and energy to keep on continuously doing so many things. And today also, right now, we got 3 programs going on. I thank each and every one present here for joining us here today on the Saturday morning. Some of you did arrive here before 10. We generally want to start on time, but unfortunately, we are seeing a trend, and I'm saying this for the first time, but I think I'll have to continue this in the next 12 days now, not to people who came on time, but people who came a little later, maybe if we can reach here by 9:30, 9:45, finish our breakfast and be in the room at 10, it will help us to start on sharp at 10. We got 200 plus registration. At 10 o'clock, there were only 5 people in the room. And currently also, I don't see more than 60 here. So people will keep on coming. Now, how much do we wait and when do we start? That is a question. And people who come actually on time or before time, they get punished. So I think we'll have to keep on saying this and we'll again come back. One of us around 11:30, 12 when we are here, we'll again repeat so that people who come late, they realize what is going wrong that way. Thank you. I think I am by profession an internal auditor. For me, when we talked about the quality assurance of internal audit function, there was a global standard which is there. And then when we drafted our SIS, we had that. And there, like the internal audit function in a large organization is required to get an independent review done by an outside CF firm. And before that, they can internally also do a review looking at the guidelines in terms of whether they make an annual audit plan, whether the audit plan is ever evolving. Then how do you select your sample? How do you keep your documents? And how do you write your reports? Do you do an observation rating? Do you do a report rating? It goes on and on in detail to see whether at what level you are in terms of maturity, if you are an internal audit function. And when an external assessment is done, either once in 3 years or once in 5 years, depending on what standards we follow, Indian SIA or global, that report, the auditor is appointed by the audit committee and the report goes to the audit committee so that the audit committee can track what corrections are required in the function and ensure that the plan is put in place and the organization or the function becomes matured. I think same is the case here with this AQMM guidelines. For us as a firm, whether it is a small or a large firm, I think if you look at the guidelines, it is in such detail. And the simplest of simple thing, which we forget at times, did we take an engagement letter? What is the objective of the engagement? We go on to, I think all the SIs are covered. What is the engagement? What is the objective of the engagement? What is the deliverable? What is the scope? What is the timeline? What are you going to really give? Is it an absolute assurance? Is it a reasonable assurance? I think we'll keep on going and ticking into this module and we'll know where we are. In terms of selection of samples, how do you select? Random, judgmental, how many? Do you keep the documents? Do you keep the evidence? Do you have a third-party confirmation? Do you do analytic procedures? So I think simple things, we do a lot of work, we issue the reports, but possibly there are these simple things which we forget or we don't do. When I did my articleship way back, or when I started my first job in A. Ferguson, 95 to 2003, that time we used to have something called as an audit completion checklist, which is a document which we had to fill up and then only the principal would sign the files. I think the AQMM should be taken like an audit completion checklist and it should be done independently. If there are 5 partners in a firm, then I think the partner who is doing the audit, some independent partner should review the files and complete this AQMM checklist so that it will bring in that discipline and will ensure that everything which is required is completed in that particular assignment, nothing is missed out. And if it is missed out, it can still be completed. And I think if we do that, we'll be prepared. The homework is done, everything is ready. The work is also done, the documentation also there in place. If something is missed out, that also can be covered. We are safe. And of course, if peer review then happens, any file, any assignment the peer reviewer picks up, you will not be worried because you will be ready with everything. And of course, if by mistake something goes wrong and a regulator keeps coming, knocking on your door, asking for information, or otherwise there is, because of whatever unfortunate reason, if there is a disciplinary committee, you will be able to present everything on the work that you've done. So I think an excellent tool, free of cost, available in detail, we can use it. And I would also request if there is any suggestion, you think ICAI has missed out something, please do let us know. And I'm sure under Durgesh's guidance, those will be incorporated, corrected. With that, welcome to everyone. Happy learning. We are your hosts. We are available here. Anything that you need, we are here. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. So without taking much time, quickly move towards our first technical session. And our speaker is today CA Durgesh Kabra, sir. He is a senior member having an extensive experience of more than 30 years in company law, corporate structuring, management advisory, audit and assurance services. An avid speaker and an expert in law and bankruptcy code, he has addressed more than 180 seminars, forum and conferences on company law, LLP, insolvency and bankruptcy code and standards on auditing. He's a member of various board committees in ICAI, such as ASB, Accounting Standard Board, AASB, Accounting and Auditing Standard Board, BOS, Board of Studies, Academics, CMP, CLCGC, PDC, VSB, DTC, ESB, CMA, and DAAB, DEP, etc. He was also a director of Indian Institute of Insolvency Professional of ICAI. A strategist and a leader to the core, he has conceptualized, implemented many initiatives at WRC during his chairmanship. As an active and responsible member of trade industry, he is associated with various social forums as well. With this brief introduction, I welcome Durgesh sir. Please take charge for the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shweta. Respected chairman of the, no need of sharing the screen. You can cancel. So, मुझे screen का जरूरत नहीं है. You just show me sometimes the chairman's photo and sometimes the other side photo, public's photo. So that would be great. So, thank you, Shweta. It's indeed a pleasure to be part of the last week, probably I would say, program of the year ending, and that too on AQMM, where I feel that lot many registrations have taken place, and for which Murtuja, the chairman of the WARC, has told that, sir, we would like to do it and we would like to do it physically. I said, Neki or puch, why you should not do? You must do it. It is very important. But see the response, which I have felt here is, again, when Murtuja has said that we want to start at 10 o'clock, but we couldn't start because at 10 a.m. only 5 persons were here and the others. This is a difficulty with the chartered accountants. Everything, we just want to do it on our ease and comfort and not before time. If we complete everything before time, I think the problems which is being felt by us in this period will not be faced. Every then and now, we are being questioned. Our quality is being questioned. I think Vijay Maniar ji is also there in the hall, who is the first speaker, and Treasurer Piyush Chandak is also there, and all the respected colleagues who have joined on 24th of December. I think it's good that at least you have joined. Maybe a compulsion of the CPE, so you are here. A person who have joined this probably will definitely gain and will try to take a lot of things along with him. And as was told by Murtuja Kachwala ji, that the AQMM is a tool which gives lots of things inbuilt to all of us who are into the practice, which will help our firm to measure its maturity level. Friends, let me tell you why the need has arisen of the audit quality. The audit quality model is developed by the Institute, a Center for Directorate for the Audit Quality was established in 2020, because in 2019, Ministry of Corporate Affairs have thought of that the chartered accountants are not performing their duties and major frauds are happening. The quality of audit, where the NAFRA has given reports, in many cases were not of the standards which the government seeks. Stakeholders want us to be bloodhound and not the watchdog, friends. And they have thought of that there should be one more agency, which is known as Center for Audit Quality, which is already there in USA, Center for Audit Quality. Then this came to our knowledge. We immediately grabbed the opportunity, and this was supposed to go to somebody else. We grabbed the opportunity that our members should not be regulated again by somebody else. And it's better that we improvise the quality of the audit of our members, and we come out with various publications, various research, various tools, and various programs for building the capacity of the practicing chartered accountant and firm. And that's how the Center for Audit Quality came into the existence. And under this Center for Audit Quality, this AQMM model is developed, which enables the audit firms to self-evaluate their level of audit maturity, identify strength and lacking areas, and accordingly develop a roadmap for upgrading to a higher level of maturity. Let me tell you that when we have decided and we have started working on it, it was a group of around 17 top-notch professionals from across the country. Some of were from Mumbai, some of were from Chennai, some of were from Hyderabad, and a combination of all firms and even from industry. CFO from Birla Group, CFO from the ACC, they were also there. That what is their expectation to what audit quality also, what audit committee also feels. And after going through the AQIs of 9 countries, what are there, we came to a conclusion and decided to have the audit quality maturity model, which is first of its kind in the world where any accounting body has developed the audit quality maturity model. So we feel proud that we are first in the world to have this. And not only this initiative, we have the other initiative also, like sustainability reporting maturity model, the digital competency maturity model, the social stock exchange, and the forensic accounting standards. The Institute in past 3 years has developed all these, and we have led from front. Time in India has changed. Indian chartered accountants also need to lead from the front. And humble request to all of you, please don't come at the fag end of completing your CPA. You all are expert in one or other area. Please have a choice of your subject and do attend that particular one and complete your CPA. So it helps you to build your capacity also. Friends, let me tell you, AQMM is a cross-functional evaluation model covering key areas of not only audit engagement, but also audit practices at firm level. It includes operation of the firm includes revenue, budgeting, pricing, audit practice manual, budgeting of engagement, timesheet, use of technology, adoption, and quality control for engagement, human resource management, resource planning and monitoring, performance re-evaluation, evaluation and compensation, physical or maybe IT infrastructures. So when you will go through this AQMM, you'll come to know. I am giving you the overview and the history of the AQMM. Technically, it will be dealt by the Vijay Maniar ji and Manish Sampat ji. Friends, will it be applicable to everybody? That is a big question. When we are starting it for all of you, should it be for all in the first page? So we have decided, deliberated, and we have thought of, no, it will be not. It will be mandatory from 1st of April 2023, but it will be applicable for the auditors who are the auditors of a listed company, who are the auditors of banks and other than cooperative banks, except multi-state cooperative banks, who are the auditors of the insurance companies. However, the branches of banks and insurance companies are not covered. Then it will be a need for each firm to do the self-evaluation by the firm. And the self-evaluation is to be done. If you are having a network, then for each firm of the network is separately required to be evaluated. It is not like that only the lead firm have been evaluated and the others have not evaluated. So if any of the firm in the network whom this becomes applicable, though it is a network, it is required to be done by each and every firm of the network. Evaluation of AQMM requires exercise of professional judgment, and audit firms are required to maintain documents justifying the judgment underlying the scores considered. When I am saying that self-evaluation is permitted in the initial area, so when you are doing the self-evaluation, you need to do on the professional judgment, and it has to be properly documented. And why it is so? Because whenever the peer review cycle will take place, a third-party review will be done. And once the third-party review is done, peer reviewer has done the review of the AQMM also, then the name of the firm, where the firm is falling in level 1, level 2, level 3, or level 4, will be published or will be hosted on the website of ICAI, and you would be in a position to host on your website also, but not on your card or so. Then friends, let me tell you the total points which are there for this is approximately 600, not approximately 600, it is 600 only. And this is divided into 3 sections. Section 1 is practice management. Section 2 is the human resource management, and section 3 is practice management, strategic and functionals. So in the first one, 280 points, second one, 240 points, and the third one is 80 points, making total 600. And each of them have been divided with certain subsections. Section 1 is divided with 9 subsections. Section 2 is divided with 5 subsections, and section 3 is divided with 3 subsections. So total 17 subsections, and in these subsections, which will be dealt in detail, I am not even taking the name because I'll be taking the time of other speakers, because they will be even otherwise dealing with all these individually, all the sections they will be dealing. So total 17 subsections will be dealt by both these speakers, and I am sure that these 17 subsections will tell you that what care you need to have in your organizations to have the best of the quality in the audit. Though we know that audit quality is not measurable, there is no standard definition across the globe, nowhere defined. Audit we are doing since long. Even I have gone through the Kingsman report, Bryden report, but nowhere this have been defined. Bryden report says something different, and true and fair is to be converted, probably maybe true and correct if need be. So if that kind of thing comes, then what kind of responsibilities can be there? So some changes may take place in time to come. We need to be very careful, and we need to see that what is the expectation of the stakeholders. As I told in the beginning, stakeholders are expecting us to be a bloodhound. The important for all of us is this. We say that we are watchdog. The stakeholders expect that bloodhound. In between, there is a quality of sniper dog. But ultimately, what we are we a dog? We are a dog. Am I right? And when we are a dog, what is the best quality of dog? What is the best quality of dog? If someone can speak from there and I can listen, can provide them the mic. Subhas, are you taking care?
Yes, sir. So at least we can be a barking dog.
Barking dog. Is it right? Barking dog is a different thing. What is the quality I'm talking? You are trying to make the dog as a barking dog, one more category.
Yes, if things are not.
Then, so what is the quality? I am talking of the quality. What is the quality? Best quality of a dog. क्या होता है? आपको श्वेता बोल रही है?
Yes, sir.
श्वेता आप नहीं बोलो ना, पब्लिक को बोलने दो. किसी और को बोलने दो. मैं तो उनसे जानना चाहता हूँ.
Sir, is it loyalty towards the stakeholders?
Right, loyalty towards the stakeholders. So, loyalty towards the stakeholders, you said, or loyalty towards डॉग की लॉयल्टी किसके तरफ होती है? आप अपने स्वामी के तरफ, राइट? राइट? यस और नो? अरे अंगूठा दिखा दो मेरे को ऐसा. राइट? हाँ. तो क्या कभी अभी मेरे को भी दिखा दिया करो यार अंगूठा, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? So, loyalty towards honor. and to whom we should be loyal. हम किसके लिए लॉयल होने चाहिए? हमारे लिए ऑनर कौन है यहाँ पे? प्लीज समवन कैन रिप्लाई. माइक दे दो भाई किसी को, कोई तो रिप्लाई करे.
Sir, it's towards our profession.
प्रोफेशन मतलब हमारा देखो क्या है, दो चीजें. ऑनर कौन है हमारा? प्रोफेशन ऑनर है
ICAI.
ICAI. या और कोई हो सकता है? कोई और बोलना चाहेगा?
Towards the stakeholders.
Towards the stakeholders. और कोई बोलना चाहेगा? And who are the stakeholders? जिसने भी बोला थोड़े नाम बता पाएंगे?
The shareholders, employees, and all the regulatory bodies.
Okay. So great. I'm happy, at least in Mumbai, no one has said towards the appointee. काम तो हमें कंपनी देती है, मालिक वो है, फीस वो चुकाता है, तो हमें उसके प्रति लॉयल होना चाहिए. I'm happy that no one has said in Mumbai this. So at least Mumbai people are aware of this, that our responsibility, or the people doesn't wanted to speak, they kept silent, but now they will agree that yes, appointee is not the right person, correct? So we have to be loyal for stakeholders, and we are appointed because of the Companies Act provision, where the audit has been made mandatory. So we are loyal for the government of India. And how much we are loyal for government of India, how far we are, we always claim that we are partner in nation building. So we need to be a partner in nation building in real term. And we need to go and introspect every day that whatever we have done with respect to the audit is correct or not. And second quality after this is, ये तो हो गया लॉयल्टी. उसके बाद एक और क्वालिटी और इम्पोर्टेंट होती है. आज जनरल नॉलेज की बात करते हैं. बाकी ज्ञान आपको देने के लिए दो स्पीकर हैं बड़े बड़े. What is the second quality? सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट शर्माते हैं, बोलते हैं बोले यार मैं बोल दूंगा, कहीं गलत बोल दूंगा तो मेरी हंसी उड़ जाएगी. बिल्कुल हंसी नहीं उड़ती, उल्टा डर निकल जाता है. Just then, when I started my career as a speaker, I was not able to speak properly. Then I started speaking in Hindi. I started speaking in English. Now, if you tell me I can continue for 2 hours in English only, there is no need that I'll speak in between Hindi. I can continue for 2 hours in Hindi only. That to a subject which needs the English too. I can explain you the audit in Hindi also, but it depends. If I go in the north, I speak only in Hindi, because north में चलता ही नहीं है. हमारे मुंबई में there is a fashion that we need to speak in English more. So can someone tell me what is the next one quality of I think थर्ड और फोर्थ रो में भाई साहब कुछ बताना चाह रहे थे, ब्लैक शर्ट वाले, बाजू वालों को बता रहे, इस साइड में.
Hello. So, sir,
हाँ,
it should be vigilant and skeptic.
करेक्ट. सो आपने कभी भी देखा होगा कोई अननोन पर्सन आ जाता है, कुछ ऐसी अनहोनी घट जाती है घर पे, कुछ भी होने की तैयारी होती है, हाँ, तो then the dog starts barking. But we don't do that also. We don't raise the red flags and we accept the audit and explanations from the client that our client will go otherwise. This is where the independence is hurted and we are being questioned. We need to be careful. I just thought I must dwell upon this thing and I try to bring out before you this. So I started dealing with this. I never wanted to talk, but I thought I must bring it to your knowledge. So this is more about, there are more things into it to discuss and deliberate. But I'll tell you that there are 4 levels. Level 1 is up to 25% in each section you have to get. Level 2 is up to 25 to 50%. Level 3 is 50 to 75%. And level 4 is 75% and above. Level 1, when it is a level 1 firm, then it will have what is indicating it that you are in a very nascent stage. You will have to take the immediate steps to upgrade the competency of your firm. Otherwise, you will be left lagging behind. Level 2 indicates that firm has made some progress. We'll have to fine tune further to reach to the highest level of competency. Level 3 gives that the firm has done substantial progress. We'll have to fine tune further to reach the highest level of competency. And level 4 is the level where it shows and it indicates that significant adoptions of the standards and procedures have been done by the firm, but should continue to focus on optimizing further. 2 small changes have been made from the original AQMM, which was published, where some typographical mistake or some mistakes were there, which I will try to bring to your notice. The detailed will be discussed by them. One was 1.5, that is quality control for engagements. Initially, what we did is we made in AQMM version 1, we made that every audit will be covered. Whereas SQC 1 says it is required only for the listed companies audit. So when we are making it applicable to listed company audit, we thought of, say, suppose I am an auditor of listed company and it becomes applicable to me, then it will become applicable to all my private limited companies and other companies audit also. So initially we have taken it out now. It was included, we have deliberated and we have now taken it out. Only listed entities or the banks or the insurance companies will be covered for you. Then the practice credential, when we talk of, that is 3.3, when we talk of empanelment with RBI and CAG, there we have written earlier that 8 marks is to be awarded, and 8 marks, the condition was end. So either I have to give 0 or 8, which was not right. The intention was, if my firm is registered with RBI, I'll get 4. If my firm is registered with CAG, I'll get 4. And registered with both, then I'll get 8 marks. So accordingly, and or has been made now. So just to give the benefit to all the firms. And very soon, which is in the pipeline, the digitization of the AQMM is under pipeline. It would help the firms to save the AQMM scores over the years and help in checking out a roadmap. Digitization would also help the peer reviewer to award the scores against the self-evaluation, evaluated scores. See what is DCI? You have to just log in on the CAQ's portal. You have to log in for the self-evaluation. The whole questionnaire will come. You will self-evaluate yourself. You will give your marks. You will get your marks that will be saved and scored over there. And when the peer review will be done, peer reviewer will be in a position to ask you the question and will ask you the documents that in support of those marks which you have allotted for yourself, which is required to be uploaded over there. That facilities we are going to provide you. There is no need that a person should come and visit you or see everything. So we are just doing it in a digitized mode. It is in the pipeline, and I'm sure it will help to a great extent to all the members and will surely build the capacity of the members in the practice. With this overview, thanks to all of you for giving me a patient listening, and hope that we chartered accountant will take this as a very serious, the audit. If you have heard our president, it has come in the news also. It was the front line of the news where the article has come. The audit is a serious business. And President Sir said, I mean it. And when he said, I mean it, we need to understand this. It has to be taken seriously and the audit quality has to be maintained. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Durgesh. The audit quality maturity. Present a formal vote of thanks. I request to WRC Treasurer CA Piyush Chanda.
Thank you very much, Sweta Madam. I'm here to propose a formal vote of thanks to our beloved CCM, CA Durgesh Kabra sir. As we all know, he is not well, but he kept his commitment, and this shows his dedication towards the profession. And he has lucidly explained us the need of audit quality maturity model and the structure and idea behind it. And with this, I thank on behalf of WRC to CA Durgesh Kabra ji for accepting our request and being virtually with us to guide on the audit quality maturity model. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thanks to WRC for hosting this program.
Yeah. And I'll again request all the members who were not present at 10 o'clock sharp at every program next time, I'll be requesting all to be here at least half an hour before, and so that we can start the program on time. With this, we will proceed towards the next session, and I'll request our next speaker, CA Vijay Maniar ji, to join us on the dais. Madam, please to escort him. CA Vijay Maniar ji is a fellow member of our institute and is having more than 35 years of professional experience. He is advisor and mentor for guiding Mumbai practice and teams. He has engaged, he was in SR Batley and Company LLP, Indian member firm for E&Y Global, as an engagement partner for statutory audits of large listed as well as unlisted corporates, Indian, multinational, entrepreneurial and PE funded, including those which undertook capital market transactions. He has extensive audit committee board meeting experience, having attended more than 400 meetings. Special invitee on accounting standard boards of ICAI for 2 years. He was member of Accounting and Auditing Committee of Bombay Chartered Accountant Society since more than 15 years. He is regular speaker at various forums. With this brief introduction, I welcome before you CA Vijay Maniar ji, and I'll request our secretary CA Shweta madam to hand over a bouquet as a welcome note.
Central Council member and the head of CAQ, Durgesh Kabra ji, Chairman of WIRC, Murtuza, Secretary Shweta, Treasurer Piyush, my friends, Ashutosh, and others, seniors, juniors, all in the profession. It gives me great pleasure to be here with you. And this is, I think, physical. I am doing it after a long time. To be present here and share my views on very important topic. First of all, let me, compliment all of you to come here on the beginning of a holiday season on a Saturday morning to understand this dull topic. Because audit itself is considered to be very dull, I've been hearing a lot of this about, it's so boring. And that too, evaluating ourselves, where we feel that we are the best. It's more, inappropriate because we have to convince somebody that how good we are. So it's more than a dull topic. And on a Saturday morning, I think I must really compliment. My only request is, and has been rightly been, reinforced by Murtuza and Piyush and Shweta, is be on time. What we have, our capacity is time. Now, if I say that, 20 minutes is been lost because, at 10 o'clock we were supposed to start and only 5 were there out of 200 registrations. That means 195 people came late by 20 minutes, and that 20 minutes into 195 or 200, that means it is 60 hours. It's not 20 minutes or 15 minutes, it's 60 hours. So when you enter late, please be mindful is that somebody senior in your office is sitting without work for 1.5 weeks. And please, try when you come on time, it's not your time, but it's others' time also. Coming to the subject proper, I think it's been a great initiative by the institute in guiding the members as to, what areas which needs to be evaluated when one considers, audit quality. It's a great step forward, giving guidance. This is how, it will help because peer reviewer is also going to look at it in the similar manner. So, CAQ will develop those standards, develop the guidance, and peer reviewer will come and review this. So it's a self-check mechanism, which is being there. It has been made mandatory. So I will, without, much, this, I will just get into the subject proper. First of all, let us think, it's a refresher. I'll not say anything which is different, but why it is important. Think about a company you are investing. or you want to, have any financial interest. And if that company's quality is not good, would you like to be investor of that company? It's the same way you pick up a financial statements, and if you feel that you know this firm and this firm has a very good quality of audit, how much reliance you would place on that firm? And if you feel that this firm does not have good quality, how much reliance you will place? Just think in those lines. So the idea is that it enhances the acceptability of the financial statements, what we are signing. It enhances our role as auditors, right? And it brings in lot of credit to the firm who does a good quality audit. However, whenever we say, audit and good quality, it's a very, subjective area. And that is where we need to be mindful if, there are any audits while we do and where there are many judgments and estimates which are made, how careful one has to be, right? So since audit is subjective, there is a lot more documentation. Think about the estimates, how we audit the estimates. And hence we need to have more and more, better documentation that will enhance the quality. Why this has come in the first place, I was trying to see, as I said, quality is a great thing, great initiative. But if you look at the background, when the peer review, and there are many observations of the peer reviewer as to why, and this has been the genesis based on which the AQMM has been set is, the observation is technical standards not followed. Very fundamental, right? But I would say that, technical standards not followed. If there is a client has any issue for the accounting issue, right? We will burn midnight oil, leave everything else. What is the solution? What client, what is the best solution for the client? But when it comes to auditing, how many of us do burn midnight oil to document what we have done? Fundamentally, what we are saying is, according to me, we are over auditing because we are getting too much into accounting. But that compensates for the lesser focus on audit. And our primary accounting is the responsibility of the management of the company. Our responsibility is to document what we have audited. Our responsibility to ensure that we, the team, the firm complies with all the professional, regulatory and legal requirements. And most importantly, the report is issued, which is we have signed, is appropriate in the circumstances. However, we focus more on the accounting and less on auditing, and that is what is, genesis. Again, the same thing, audit documentation not done, representation letter not taken. Can you beat it? How much responsibility which we are taking by not taking management representation letter? We should not sign any financial statements till we have had this management representation letter, because that is the responsibility of the management. By signing, management is reaffirming lot of things, lot of judgments, estimates which are there, which we take it in writing from the management. However, this is the observation is the, management representation letter, not the mandatory communications to those charged with governance, right? Management, audit committee, board. We are not doing, there are some mandatory communications. They are also responsible for the financial statements. That is not there. And last but not the least, how the audit needs to be done. The firm does not have any document to demonstrate, right? Think about it, how we do audit. If the company does not have any document, however good the company is, however ethical the company is doing the business, but if there is no evidence, that is the basic professional skepticism. We don't, get assurance or comfort when we sign the financial statements. So to address this and lot of other things, it's, as I said, it is a great initiative by the institute. I think there is a framework which I'll skip it. let's go straight to the AQMM model. I think because of the paucity of time, uh, I will say that, I will also highlight what are the implementation challenges. If you have any in addition, please feel free to share, because it is, if you have something, others will also have similar challenges. You would have thought about it. Others may think about it. I think this is a collective, project. So if there are any implementation challenges, institute can step in and, they will issued implementation guide. But if there is any further clarification which is required, I think that can also be done. However, as I said, I will focus mainly on the implementation challenges. The first is, Durgesh bhai said, the applicability, so I will not get into it. My, this is to why, exclude cooperative banks. I think cooperative banks should be included. We have seen irregularities in cooperative banks, and I would go a step forward. All public interest entities should be covered. So all those who have borrowed, over certain limit has to be covered. So it's not only should be covered, but it should be, those should also be covered. What I assume is this is version 1, which has been revised because of some, apparent errors. But in version 2 and further versions, I think this will get corrected. Since this is applicable, it is mandatory from April 1, 2023. It will be best that you all evaluate where do you stand. This is recommendatory currently. So please evaluate, because after April 23, this is mandatory, number 1. Number 2, please ensure that what is the documentation, because ultimately peer reviewer will also look at the documentation. Get it evaluated by independently by AQMM reviewer, peer reviewer, so that, at least you have evaluated yourself, but where, is a peer reviewer will look at, or AQMM reviewer will look at it, because this will get aligned. From the next year, the peer reviewer will definitely look at the AQMM, and this is, the rating which is coming out of it will be put on the institute website, and that rating you will put it on your website. If it is a good rating, you will put it. If it is not a good rating, at least the audit committees and the management can ask that what has been your rating. But this is a public information which is there, and it will have a great implications on the reputation of the firm if the rating is, not good. I think practice areas and the marking scheme, I will not get into it. 600 marks. Durgesh bhai touched upon the levels. Now, these are the level that if you get 25%, then you are in level 1, means you are a nascent stage. 25 to 50%, that means you are better than level 1, but still, there is lot to be done. 50 to 75% is level 3, and 75% and above is level 4. Though there is all these levels are there, each of the section needs to be evaluated. So what if in one level, of the section, you have, you are in level 3, and one of the sections say you are in level 2 or in level 4. There is no, guidance. Probably, institute may come up and look at it. But in my view, if I'm a peer reviewer, if you are in lowest level in any of the section, the firm will be, rated at that level. So if you are level 4 in one, but level 1 in second, in another section, then you will be considered as level 1 firm and not level 4 firm or something in between. But it will be best that if institute clarifies this. Yes. Sure.
What is the concept behind? And second, one, if you are level 3, if no way it will guarantee that you will raise at least minimum red flag in front of auditor. It's just a paper and document, my personal view.
Yeah, no, fair point. So I think the idea is number one, as you rightly said, there is no statutory standard scope for internal audit. The stakeholders don't review internal audit reports. Means outside, internally they correct. So there is no reliance. The idea is, why this responsibility as auditors is higher if it is a listed company, because the economic users decide or make decisions based on this. Nobody makes decisions based on the internal audit, and hence it is restricted only to statutory audit. Of course, this concept can also be carried forward for other services, so internal audit or even tax or whatever services, and the larger firms have that process that everything gets reviewed. The criteria could be different.
सर इनके हाथ में माइक दे दो ना, ताकि मैं भी सुन सकूं क्वेश्चन क्या है.
What I'm trying to say, section 1, section 2, section 3, they should have given some weights. I know most of the CFR may be weak in HR, maybe good in practice management operation. So even in say section 1, they got level 4, and you said HR, they got level 1. It will bring down to completely level 1. They should have given some weights.
So I think,
Related methodology.
no, I agree with you. It's a marking system. In the exam marking system, how one looks at it. So that has been taken care in terms of how the marks are given. But otherwise, if we get into that level of subjectivity, the idea is, do you have it or not? And it's a guidance which is given. But otherwise, in exam, it's the same way, right? You get compulsory questions and they're higher mark, but some other questions may have a lower marking, correct? Maybe more complex. So this is actually, it's not in that sense an exam, but yeah, it will play a very critical role in, evaluating where you stand. Then the implementation guide also gives the guidance as to how, if you want to move from one level 1 to, higher level, how one should go about doing it, right? Because it's not something, it's a switch on, switch off. It's a whole process which one will have to, go through it. And hence it is a time consuming process. It is not only as audit. Welcome, Manish. I must congratulate his commitment. He's got a family wedding. He's come home at 4 o'clock, but he's here to share his knowledge. So welcome, Manish. Yeah. So the idea is, it's a process. It's not going to happen immediately, and hence go about the process, evaluate, benchmark yourself, benchmark where is the need. It's not, as I said, it's an audit. It's a cross-functional team which will have to be involved. Somebody will have to take the leadership, identify what are the areas one needs to focus, identify what are the resource requirement. All this is a cost, and that is where, there is a specific requirement, and put a timeline. Unless you put a timeline, you will not do it. And ensure that those timelines, which may be say 6 months down the line, but monthly, or if it is 1 year down the line, whether it is those timelines are met at a regular interval. So I would say, as I said, it's a great initiative, great step for the guidance. However, let me give you some comments. So when you do it and when you get, if you do review for somebody else or somebody else will review you, there are challenges. So number one, it is subjective. Even our opinion is subjective. So what we do? Documentation. So when it is subjective, more documentation, right? Justify why this is what you're marking. So ultimately it boils down to this, but it is subjective. It is my view against the reviewer that way. Lot of places it is yes, no, right? So if it is yes, then full marks. No, it is. I assume that in the future versions, there would be some grading which will happen. So that partial implementation or something partial or not, what will happen? Having said so, I see one very big challenge because today you will say, okay, I've got it. Peer reviewer will also say, I've got it. That means you get full marks. When there is a grading which starts and you are not yes, but you are somewhere in between, your marking will come down. If your marking could come down, your overall level at which you are there may also come down. How would you accept it? How would, stakeholders who will look at your rating and rating trend, how would they look at it? Because this firm was level 3 or level 4 last time, but now it has dropped. The quality is not good. So this is a challenge. How do we meet this challenge? I do not know. Institute can, clarify as to, how yes, no, and then there is a grading which happens, what will happen? Lot of places, and I'll show you, will be difficult to demonstrate. Even documentation is there, but lot of places it's a demonstration. Please be mindful, if you are not good at in any area, that it's not only one area which is impacted. There are various places where similar challenges are there. So if you have wrongly evaluated yourself, or you are rightly evaluated, that impact is there at different places if you are not, good at one of the area, and that we'll see. I'll highlight this. Marking system, my view, as I said, it is soft at certain places, but hard at certain places. And let me give you one example so that it's easier. What is the heart of, AQMM? It's the audit methodology, right? The audit manual. Now that mark, how much you will get as against if you have a good broadband, how much mark you will get? There is no comparison. The bottom line is my audit methodology should be, it's fundamental in audit methodology which is implemented, then I should get more marks. But here I'll get more marks if I just buy, good broadband. So that mismatch is there, but yeah, everybody will get evaluated. But that's what I thought is marking. And somewhere where something which is very fundamental, I think the negative marking should be significantly higher. I thought we are soft on negative marking because if it is something wrong, then that form for the marking scheme should be punished because ultimately it's a very fundamental aspect on which the firm is getting negative marks, and that also will see. So let's start with the question, practice area. First is the revenue from audit and assurance services. Audit and assurance services is all in, forensic, internal, tax audit and all this. Now one gets, 5 marks if it is 50% to 75%. So if the total revenue of the firm is say 10 crores and say more than 5 crore is from audit and assurance, then one gets 5 marks. And if it is above 75%, then one gets 8 marks. Now this is hard because I may not have hard, strong audit practice. I may have strong other practices. So does it mean that I get penalized because I'm not audit focused firm? So this is a factual, there is no comment as I said, but I'm saying it should be applicable even if I have 1% of the revenue, which is a one listed account I do, and which is forming 1 or 2% or 5% of the revenue of the firm, I should get, because ultimately it's on the quality of that audit which I have done of that client, not on the overall basis. Secondly, here it is this 50% or 75% is over a period of 3 years. So firm which has been formed year 1 or year 2, how much mark one will get? Because there is no 3-year consistency. That means 0 marks. Right? Or if there is acquisition of another firm, if it is acquisition is fine, but I do not know how do I demonstrate that I have acquired a group of professionals. Because I may, regularly, I appoint people or group of professionals. Now, how do you say I acquired, a group of professionals? So I think there is no guidance. So as I said, this is factual, correct, no other comments, but it is in that sense hard. The next is, does the firm have a vision and mission statement, or does it address forward-looking practice statement plans? Good thing, we should know where do we stand. Correct. There is a vision statement, where do you want to go? There is a mission statement, how one would reach. Difficult to demonstrate. Difficult to demonstrate. Correct. So you will have this, but how do you align this with the audit which is there? But, that's where it is. No, it is correct. But how do you demonstrate that you have, so you may have it, but how do you demonstrate you have implemented? That is one area which I could not, it's very difficult to demonstrate. The next is presence of audit manual containing forms methodology that ensures compliance with auditing standards and implementation thereof. Very fundamental, hard, core, as I said, core of the whole maturity module. Only 8 marks. Right. And it has to be updated. So if it is not updated, again, and the way regulatory changes are happening, it is not that, you take stock 1 year down the line. One has to, as auditor, and I can share from the experience that it's difficult to keep in touch what is happening. Earlier, if I say that what was happening in tax, I was not able to keep track, and audit was on a autopilot. Now the time is different. Every regular, every week or every fortnight, some or the other changes are happening. How do you keep it updated? I think it's a challenge I see. Availability of standard format relevant to audit quality, like letter of engagement, representation letter, significant working papers, reports, and implementation. Again, hard, only 8 marks. Right. The question is like, I'm assuming there is nothing more, because somebody will say, you'll have, this is like, so this is an inclusive definition and not exclusive. But I'm assuming that this is, if you have these 4, then it is fine. Letter of engagement, again, fundamental, as Durgesh said, we don't have letter of engagement. Again, fundamental, basic, hygiene, it's a risk if we don't have engagement letter as well as management representation letter. Significant working papers will change. So how, it's a good thing. What I'm saying is, but all these 2 are the heart of, good quality audit. But it has got, we are harsh on it from a marking perspective, because only 8 and 8 marks. This is, even if you get full marks, you may still be, level 1 form. Then quality review manuals. Quality review manuals is, again, the quality, the hygiene, it starts with usage of client acceptance and engagement acceptance checklists and adequate documentation thereof. Now, if you don't have it here, there are other implications. Even the earlier one, if you don't have it right, you'll get impacted by at other places also. Now, engagement acceptance, client acceptance is so fundamental, and there are so many, background checks which are, available. In fact, a lot of people asked me, there was a statement by the SEBI chairman saying there are some 20 databases and lot of firms have been grappling as to where are these 20 databases from where all these checks can be done. So those databases, whether the client, reputation of the client, you know, whether, you know, and one more fundamental, forget all this that we'll do. How many of us do that, whether we have capability to do this? Because one of the very fundamental this is, do I have capacity to do it, and whether do I have a capability to do it? So competency as well as the availability of resources. Today I see such a big, you know, resource crunch. How many of you have refused audit because you don't have resources or you don't have, you know, those competencies? Today, as a profession, all of us have got so many audits of banks, NBFCs because change in RBI regulations. How many of you have IT auditor, IT expert in your team, in your firm at a senior level position? Because unless you know this IT, the whole NBFC bank audits, insurance audit, you can't do. So it's good to, so that's where one has to evaluate. And this is where the peer reviewer will come and evaluate, do you have competency to do it? And if you say you don't have resources, somebody will say, why did you accept this? So these questions could come in. This is what I'm saying, because the engagement acceptance, this is SQC1. I am not saying anything which is coming out of this AQMM. This is SQC1 has been there, applicable to all the firms, including small firms, right from April 1, 2009. So it's not something I'm telling you out of blue. This is there. I'm saying this is the documentation, which is level of documentation which is required. Independence on all engagements. What kind of processes? This is a challenge. What I'm saying is all these are challenges. Unless you have the system in place, how do you ensure? I see, you know, partners are not willing to share their investments. They'll just sign off, right? So who all are, how do you ensure that the firm is independent? How do you ensure that the engagement team is independent? How do you ensure that we are independent based on the whatever assurance we are doing? So if it is a listed company, then as per listed SEBI regulations plus institute plus Companies Act. If you are doing under, say, any other for multinational company, then again Companies Act, institute plus minimum. These are all the minimum. You may have, you know, higher threshold. But what is the independence? What is the independence at the firm level, at the engagement level? Have you done any conflicted services? Right. Forget this. I'll give you classic example. This all you may be aware. SQC1 says, is client unreasonable in fees? If the client is not paying you good fees, so the peer reviewer can come and ask, show me an effort, cost, and how much you made money. And it is independence says if it is an intimidation threat, that means the client is, and one of the example is client is, say, putting unreasonable timelines or fees are not reasonable. That means you are not independent because you will not do that. This is all a demonstration you'll have to do, I'm saying. And I'm not saying anything, again repeating, this has been there in SQC1 2009, correct? So 13 years before. But this is what the AQR, and this is based on which your audit quality will get determined, and this will be on the website. So please be mindful as to how do you feel, how many people we rotate the team. Now there is a SQC, one says rotation of partners, but but it also says the senior team. So if you have somebody on the senior member of the team for long period of time, that means there is a familiarity threat. Somebody will say, okay, you are not, you know, independent because you are having this senior person over the period. Or how do you ensure that somebody senior in the team joins the client and he is facing you as the client, is not independent. Or the other way around, somebody from the client side joining you and in on this audit team, you might feel it's so efficient because he knows everything and he'll sign off. But no, peer reviewer will say you are not independent. You can't have senior member team from here to represent you on the other side or from their side to represent, do the audit on this side. So these are the, this which will when I have to do. Now we have expanded our services. There is a possibility of self-review thread. That means I am auditing my own work. I can't audit my own work. And this one has to be mindful specifically in say rotation era or where banks, these NBFCs change auditors after 3 years. If you have done some work and you end up reviewing that work, you are not independent. I'm not saying anything, sorry, this is not AQMM checklist. I'm saying these are the areas, so please be mindful for the documentation. The next is, and this is also one of the challenge which the firms are facing, is does the firm maintain and use engagement withdrawal rejection policy template? Of course, SEBI and, because of resignation, there is a guidance which is there. Now, the regulatory guidance, the institute has come up, SEBI has come up, what forms, but what are the internal processes, right? And that internal process is something you would have done it. This is for the external. This is the internal one which reviewer will look at it. Availability and use of standard checklist in performance of audit. It will go along with the audit manual. So if you don't have it properly over there, you will get hit over here. Availability of standard format for audit documentation of business understanding, sampling basis, materiality determination, data analysis, and control evaluation. These are all standard formats it is talking about. So how do you standardize this? You may have it, but it's talking about not only availability, but standardize. Then are the documents, so all the quality control mentioned, reviewed and updated on a frequent basis, say annually. But if I am a peer reviewer and there is a change and you have signed off afterwards, I will ask, because though the AQMM says annually, but where is your this checklist? And somewhere, I was reading in the implement, say if it is not implemented, that means you get no. No means zero. There is no grading. The next is efforts monitoring, very fundamental, but I see this, most of the firms don't have it. Does the firm carry out capacity planning for each engagement? This is such a fantastic management tool what we have. Correct. We do it for the clients, we don't do it for ourselves. Is this client, is this engagement, what is my effort, what is my fee? I may do it at loss. I may have some justification. Correct. I may do some engagement at a loss. I have a justification. I'm making overall margin because ultimately our capacity is our time into, hours into this. Do I have it? So each engagement wise, it should be, that is what, so do we carry out capacity planning? So how many people are required? At what level? What competencies? Because as auditors, we may be relying on some experts. So are those experts are also on the team? I gave you example of this IT, correct? So one is the capacity. The next is the process of budgeting and planning of efforts required, maintained. And then it is talking about hours, days, week. So one is the capacity. So what all people are required? The next is how much time they are required, when they are required, how much time they are required. We do it. There is no demonstration of, And the third is whether do budget versus actual analysis. It's a very, very fundamental tool. I see most of the firm don't do it, but it's a very efficient tool. Trust me. We have done it in the firm. Correct. Every Monday morning it comes, the report comes on the table. But having said so, here there is a twist. our budget and versus actual, this is carried out for costing and pricing. Now what happens is, and I'm giving you the easier one so that you can, if you don't do it, then you can do it, that you have 50 engagements, out of which the most complex audit is one or two listed ones. You don't do it. Here you do get good marks. Because the idea should be that it should be done for the listed ones. But here it's not classifying the complex listed, unlisted, it's saying on an overall basis. So up to 10%, if you are doing then 0 marks. But here you can score 90% and you get 20 points. Because it's not separating out which engagements. Then the next is, does the firm deploy technology for monitoring effort spent, utilization? So how do you ensure that, the whole time sheet? And just ask yourself how disciplined you are in filing the timesheet and your team is filing the timesheet. So unless, you are doing it on your own and ensure that it is done on that time which you say, the team will not do it. And if you are doing it, then the team will need more convincing to ensure that, they do it. The next is, Durgesh bhai mentioned about this quality review of all listed engagements as per para 60 of SQC. It's a requirement, it's a mandatory SQC 1 requirement, whether engagement, whether the quality reviewer is there or not. But this is where most of the firms fail is this. So it says, para 60 says, all listed accounts should have an engagement quality reviewer. But it says that firm can decide, because it's a risk which one is covering. So firm can decide that if there are any additional criteria which are required. And a lot of firms have those additional criteria. And let me give you some examples. And if you don't have, you should evaluate from a risk perspective. That if you have any client which has a going concern issue, though it is not listed, shouldn't you have a, engagement quality reviewer? Somebody independent of the engagement partner who is also looking at it. Or if the firm is highly leveraged. These are the areas which the firm can evaluate, and then all those firms, all those clients needs to, should have engagement quality reviewer. But most important, and this is where the challenge happens, is the time, the evidence. What is the evidence? The evidence is time spent. Is there a timesheet where the time is spent? And that is where, I see a lot of challenges is to ensure that not only, it's not that engagement quality reviewer signs off and that means it is done. The idea is that what has been the role, what is the evidence of the time charge? Let me give you an example of US gas to just to see, and this is what I see coming. So somebody maker checker and maker checker sign off is there, that's not enough. The question is, what is the evidence of the review? What questions reviewer has asked and what responses have been received? And this is a guidance from US gas PCOB guidance. So please be mindful. It is the responsibility of engagement quality, and NAFRA reports, if you see, they have equally held engagement quality reviewer as the responsible for the engagement as much as the engagement partner. Now here, the next is total engagements having concluded to be satisfactory as per quality review versus number of engagements quality review. So idea is that I think there is some disconnect. The earlier quality review is engagement quality reviewer, and the next one is quality review, but it is the quality review process of the firm. So firm would get, so again, SQC 1 says how monitoring of the compliances of the, all the elements of quality has been done and how it is monitored. So it can be monitored by internal inspection, external inspection, or regulatory inspection. Correct. So here the question is on this is those inspection, whether internal or external, how have you performed? And then this is the marking point. Now here I see, softer side on negative. What it says is if 90% of your files are not considered to be good quality, you get only 20 negative points. Which according to me is again the heart of it, and one should have a significant negative points if, the files which are being reviewed are not up to the quality standards. And also one challenge, what happens if there is no peer review which has happened, or there is no internal, reviews which has happened? Then in that year, would you get 0 marks or the full marks? So idea is I would take full marks. Because though there is no review which has happened, but I would say concluded having satisfactory, correct, versus number of engagements, 0 to 0. So that means The next is number of engagements without finding by ICAI, committee of ICAI regulators that require significant improvements. So if there is a significant, so there is a recommendation, good practices, which is good, but significant improvements, correct. Again, here it is soft. If it is more than 90% of these files as negative marking, then you get only 20 negative. This is the heart, but only negative is something which, Now documentation of the firm in accordance with SQC1. SQC1 is a topic by itself. Quality Review Board has also, when they've done their, one of the observation is the comments on SQC1. However, the marking according to me, so as I say, it's a topic by itself. One can go on for 1-2 hours on SQC1, but the marking is, again, this is the heart, but marking is only 6 points, so total 12 points. The next is, does the firm have accounting and auditing resource in the form of soft copies of archive, Q&A, firm thought leadership, and a dedicated shared technical desk? I think all of us, all the firm have somebody that, okay, who is the go-to person? If there is something on accounting, something on auditing, something on some particular topic, who is the go-to person? I think that needs to be documented. I have one challenge on the Q&A, because each client is confidential. So what is the issues in each client is confidential. I can't, and many times through this Q&A, I may be divulging something, which is also one of the very ethical principles is I should maintain confidentiality. So other than engagement team, nobody else should know what is there in the engagement. So how do I maintain confidentiality? If you are not maintaining, and ensure that staff does not discuss anything, because ultimately listed clients, everything, an engagement team is an insider, right? Should not discuss anything with anybody. And this is, I would always say in all my team meetings, please don't discuss anything which is happening in this engagement to anybody, any family, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, son, daughter, nobody. Because somebody acts on that information, you are held responsible. So point apart, what I'm saying is, Q&A, it should be, filtered in such a way that the client confidentiality is maintained. The next is appropriate time spent on understanding business risk assessment, planning the engagement, how the risks have been mitigated through performance audit. Again, fundamental, only 12 points. It's a whole methodology which we have seen earlier, correct? That how that audit manual and etc. has been implemented on the engagement. Does the firm follow and implement standard delivery methodology, adoption of audit manual, adherence to practice standards tools? Again, fundamental, only 4 points. If you don't do, then 0. It should be, negative mark here. The next is number of statutory audit engagements reworked. Filing errors, information inefficiency, wrong interpretation of provisions, etc. Now, I have not understood this actually. What does it mean by rework? Because rework happens when the engagement team does not do and the partner or somebody reviews, that time there is a rework. the engagement team does not do, but engagement quality reviewer says this is not done. That is this internal expansion, inspection, external inspection. Now there are on those before the report is signed and some rework is done. Correct. I assume it is material. If it is material, then it's a under audit. And without under audit, if somebody has, issued a report, I think I do not know how to deal with it. And this is for the listed. So what SQC one says, the file needs, the papers needs to be archived within 60 days. So how do I, how does it happen? But if that is the case, then the negative, it's a very soft on, negative marks. Restatement is something which is different. Rework is restatement can also be, but restatement could be change in accounting policy or there is a new standard and then, one does the restatement. But otherwise this rework, I have not been able to understand. The next is number of client disputes other than fee disputes and how they are addressed. Right. Now, implementation guidance says it is only legal dispute. Otherwise, dispute can get into if there is a qualification that, it's a dispute, their view against my view. Correct. Or if I resign for some reason, it's a dispute. But rightly so that, they have defined this as a legal dispute. Are the timing of audit interactions with management planned in such a way that integrates with auditors' requirements so that audit timelines can be met? It's a fair this. One should have it. If one does not have it, one should have it. Correct. As to when all this needs to be done so that ultimately the end is, kept in mind. And only one area which I need to, all of you to focus is what is fundamental is planning. And this is actually talking about planning. And I see a lot of times we just send people to the audit without planning. I think my experience, based on the, whatever audits we have done over the period, I think 30% of the time average goes into planning or more. The whole strategy, what is to be done, why this control testing, and what is the strategy for the account. And then lot of things happen. And that planning happens much before, not, after we just send. So before sending the team to, you say, just go and do the audit, have that meeting. That's the first thing. Then the next is awareness meetings, knowledge dissemination meetings, articles, documents, sharing with the client, including updates on audit issues, accounting issues, changes in the accounting, follow through. I think we all do it. Here what we need lack is the documentation. Did we made last year, these were the issues, how they are resolved. We should have a planning meeting, right? We have those meetings. Or there is a change in the accounting standard or auditing standard or regulatory requirement. What is it? What is a change? What is the impact? How are you going to do it? How are we going to audit it? Because that evidence will have to be kept ready by the client. So it's a question of how do we document. The next is technology adoption. Again, very subjective because technology, you may be using higher technology than what I am using. I do not know how, but it is yes, no. Again, the grading comes, my antenna is on the grading because now it is yes, no. Somebody will say, boss, this is very normal. So video conferencing facility or the only license. I think this is one thing which is important, only licensed operating software. So if you are using any unlicensed, unauthorized software, please be mindful. More points on own email domain as against Hotmail Gmail account. So please be mindful. Now antivirus, very subjective because what is available and you may use it based on the cost benefit analysis. Somebody will say, so you can say you have used it. Come next version and some grading happens. How do you look at it? Or data security, again, very fundamental because we carry laptop all the time. Some laptop gets lost. One has to ensure that nothing in the laptop, somebody is able to, rig that data. right? So it's so much of protection. That is very fundamental. The whole database is and cyber security. Now, I do not know what should be the right strategy for cyber. Even the best of the companies face the cyber threat. So it is all yes, no. It is easier to meet, as I said. It's a good to do, but from a marking perspective, it is subjective. Then internal communications, all in the office, internal communication. Has the firm automated its office with automated attendance system and leave management? It is there, correct. Our team goes most of the time to client's location. Now, how do you say I've automated? Then what is the evidence? Then it is not automated. I'll ask for the leave or something. It's somebody who is only in office. It is possible to say, okay, I've automated. There is a biometric or, thumb, but somebody on outstation, I know I used to not go to office for days to office. So it was always out, but it's that my timesheet will speak for itself. Then project activity, timesheet management. Again, earlier timesheet was there. Now it is there. Digital storage of records, centralized server, digital library, and client interactions. I think all these are possible. Correct. It is yes, no, so easier to implement. Make sure that, this is something which is also useful to you, and one has to regularly be aware is what is happening. And that is where, this such conferences help in sharing that knowledge. Then again, awareness and adoption of technology for service delivery. So what kind of tools, which audit tools which you are using? Usage of analytical tools, use of data visualization tools, or adoption of audit tools. So I had what kind of technology, digitization, what you have done in your auditing, and how do you demonstrate that what you have done? How do you demonstrate that what areas you have covered, and whether the output of these areas is the one which is appropriate in the circumstances. The next is, revenue budgeting and pricing, where it says whether client-wise revenue is in accordance with the code of ethics, and where I think this will need to be amended, because this implementation is reduced once deferred clause is applicable, then it is not 15%, it is 20%. So hopefully, but this is an indication. So it is only a guidance. I think we'll have to go back to what is actually in the code of ethics. Then fee consideration and scope of services should not infringe upon the quality of work and documentation as envisaged in SQC1 under leadership responsibility. Again, SQC1, earlier also it was there. Correct. The responsibility of the qualities of the leadership of the firm, or anybody who is equivalent thereof. The idea is that commercial consideration should not override. So it's not that this client or jada fees deta hai, so I should do more work or less work, but this client is giving me less fees. That means I should, have less people allocated, because the risk is the same. So commercial consideration apart, the quality of audit should be consistent, whether it is high paying client or low paying client. And the last is the adherence to minimum scale of fees. Manish, you want to come in now or later? Huh? Okay. Ashutosh, I was expecting some questions from you. Yeah. The next is the third, which is, human resource will be taken by Manish. So the third section which is allocated to me is practice management. And again here, some subjectivity. So does the firm have a balanced mix of experienced and new assurance partners? It's good, oldies go because they are with fixed mind, fixed ideas. Youngsters, more technology, more newer ways of doing audit, more energy, more motivation. So it's a good thing, but what is a balance mix the institute has, so both has advantages, disadvantages, but what should be the uh, um, ideal mix is something I'm not sure, but what it says is for average partner experience more than 5 years is 4 points and average partner experience more than 10 years is 8 points. So here it is saying more experienced partners than younger partners. That is what I'm concluding here. Now it says is the firm compliant with ICAI Code of Ethics, Companies Act and other regulatory requirements in relation to professional independence and conflict of interest. Now it is yes, no. Now here I am not sure. So here the marking should be more negative. It can't be 0 if it is not in compliance. And here also it should be, so all now, it becomes very difficult for all. So some change, something is there. SQC 1 also says, how this needs to be dealt with, but something has happened, right? There has to be some grading. One engagement, out of so many, something is not appropriate and which has been rectified by the management. And ultimately all this independence it is talking about engagement period, right? And something is not right. Probably, this is in that sense, it is harsh, but otherwise it should have a strong negative points. Is there a whistleblower policy? We advise all clients, acha whistleblower policy, which is good. Charity begins at home. Do we have, and is it working efficient? If it is there, then you get good marks, but I'm saying to get the value out of it, it should be working efficient. Then number of branches and associates and network firms and affiliates. So idea is that how large, so larger the firm, more marks, which is good, so it is giving implementation guidance is also giving some further clarification around this. But, what is the difference between branch and associates and network of firms? There is no clarity. So if it is the branch is also the same, the associate is also the same, the network of firms is also the same. So there could be different grading, to it. The next is, are branch level activities centralized, decentralized in accounting, invoicing and payroll processing? So centralization is one thing, it could be centralized or decentralized. However, what is fundamental according to me is not accounting, invoicing or payroll. Audit methodologies should be consistent, right? Irrespective, because I see a lot of times different offices, different partners have different way of doing it and different focus, different way of documenting. That has to be consistent. See, if I say that I am this firm, that kind of documentation which is there should be consistent, whether that firm is doing or that branch of that firm is doing or the associate of that firm is doing or different offices of that firm is doing. I think that is something which should be there rather than accounting, payroll and invoice processing. Physical and logical security of information are extended and implemented across. I think good thing, again, the different varying degree. So if I were to physical securities, if I were to come to your office and ring a bell, is it a physical security? Right? Or if there is an excess, I ask somebody, okay, write down, is it a physical security? So I think it's a good way, not much mark, but I'm saying in the overall 80 marks of this, each mark, it's that third section is only 80 marks, of which 10% is, to physical as well as logical. So all the data, laptop, server, how, what is this level of security? So one has to be careful. Are there adequate DA tools and IT infrastructure are available and they are being used for the relevant engagement? Again, technology, you will hit over there, you will hit over there here. So are there enough DA tools and are those being used? That is what is being said. It's all efficient. It is good to do. It requires a lot of push to the team and my experience to say that why don't you use it? And once they use it, they will always love it. It's that first time, all this tool, the implementation is, first time challenge. But once having used, it brings in so much of insight, it brings in so much efficiency, it brings in so much of value to the client, and client starts appreciating. So I think this is one good thing. What is the right way of doing it? I do not know, because adequate is something which is again gets into subjectivity. Now, is the infrastructure adequate in terms of internet, intranet, as I said, VPN, Wi-Fi for remote working? Good marks you get, right? More than 10%. Whereas in audit methodology, you get only 4-8 marks out of 280. So that's where this disconnect, which I see. Is the firm peer review certified? Yes, good. If it is there, then you get 4 marks. This Durgesh bhai mentioned empanelment with RBI. This was the one area which got revised. It was RBI and CNAG. Now it is RBI and or CNAG. Now, is there advisory as well as decision not to allot work due to unsatisfactory performance by CAG office? Now, if you have not performed adequately and it is unsatisfactory, negative 5 marks is less. If it is the work is not up to quality, I think that has to be get into the highest, negative marking. But here it is, you can get away with less than 10% of this section. As the government bodies, authorities evaluated the performance of the firm to the extent of debarment and blacklisting. So if any firm, government, the firm has been debarred, correct, then it's only negative 10 points. If it is debarred, then it has to be significant. Any negative assessment in the report of quality review board? Quality review board comes, with non-NAFRA companies now, right? Earlier it had oversight on all the companies. Now it is non-NAFRA companies. But if there is any negative, then mind you, it's only negative 5 points. Has there been a case of professional misconduct on the part of member of the firm where he has been proved guilty? Correct? Because institute, schedule 1, schedule 2, correct, part 1, part 2 or of, this. And if there is any action which has been taken against the member, then it is only negative 5 marks. So that's it from my side. Happy to take questions now or once Manish finishes, which is his section 2.
Thank you so much, Vijay sir, for your detailed deliberation and covering key areas of practice management, strategic and functional of the audit firm. It's really, I'm sure it is going to benefit to our participants. So now I would like to invite our next speakers, Manish Sampat sir, please be on the dais. And again, before handing over him, let me take the privilege to introduce him. He is a commerce graduate from the Mumbai University and currently is partner in CNK and associate LLP. He is part of the audit and assurance practice of CNK and specializes in attestation function of bank, foreign multinationals, and new age businesses in the service sector. Also has experience in valuation and due diligence. He has been a part of many study group and subcommittees under the AASB, ASB, and other committees of our institute. Also a regular contributor in our publications. He is currently the chairman of the Accounting and Auditing Committee and immediate past president of the Bombay Chartered Accountants Society. He is the honorary secretary of the Audit Committee of the Cricket Club of India Limited. So with this brief introduction, I welcome you, sir, at the platform of WRC and really thank you so much for accepting the invitation. So would like to present just a token of appreciations. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. And first and foremost thing, thank you for having me here. And, when the invite came to me, I was just thinking that on a lovely Saturday winter morning on Christmas Eve, why I have been here. And my friend Ashutosh sitting over there also reminded me that this is that part of the day or that part of the year where in travel, the demand surges. So therefore the airfare hit the skyrocket. So therefore similarly for the CP requirement, all of you are like, yeah, so that's what I was told. So, but anyway,
I am also listening you, Manish ji.
Durgesh ji, thank you very much. So that's the reason we are here. And before I start, I think so, Vijay bhai also mentioned about, that I had a social function. But actually, his sacrifice also is there because when I discussed with him, that how would we go about this program? So he told me, don't worry, Manish, I will make the presentation for you. You just come. And also to add to it, his son studies abroad and his son has just come for a short period of 7 days today morning. And for the first time, he has not gone to the airport to pick him up because he was supposed to land by 2:30, I think so. So that's how. So anyway, now coming to today's lecture, I think so I have about 1 hour or so. But before that, I would just like to say that I've been associated with the Center of Audit Excellence, CAQ, for right from the inception. I know Durgesh ji has been the convener and he has, taken this, step forward and actually contributed so much. We started off with I think so the course, the long duration course, and for the initial 5 or 6 duration course, I have given the lectures. I was, part of the, the building the material. And then again, I think so with Vijay bhai also has been involved right from the beginning. Then AQMM came, so Durgesh ji contributed, asked me to contribute for that. So I have been part of this journey right from the beginning. So, well, of course, I don't want to repeat what has been said in the earlier session, but just a brief 1 minute or 2 minute on that is that, yes, how do you measure quality? Quality measurement is subjective. You can't have, laid down parameters. But I think so this is a first step towards, measuring, you having quality, quantitative and qualitative, making the process a little bit more objective, where you have marks, of 10. So therefore, a lot has been said about this, whether it is a good or bad, exercise, only time and only will say. But one thing for sure is that as and when it will be implemented, you and me will implement this, peer review will happen. This process is only going to get refined. Right now, we are only in the version 1. Naturally, from April onwards, we are going to get more feedback, and moving forward, this process is going to get improved. So with this, I think so I just, move ahead and come straightway to the second section on human resource development, which has been, I'm going to be covering. So this full section has about 31 questions overall. And fortunately, this section 2 on human resource development does not have any negative marking. It only has marks for having something. Yes, a presence of something. It has 2 marks, 4 marks, 8 marks. No negative marking here. And friends, if we all can relate that, yes, this is the most challenging session. It's HR issues is the most challenging, as it was said earlier by Vijay bhai also, that, today we are not competing for work amongst us, but we are competing for good people to join our organizations. I mean, I'm sure everybody would believe that whatever is the size of the organization, work is there in plenty for everyone. But today the shortage is of talent. How do you manage talent? How do you, retain good talent? How do you promote them, etc., etc.? The smaller size firm do not have good or strong practices. That is what has been the experience. But the larger firms have that type of, full-fledged system. So I think so here I would just like, I can see many seniors also over here. So, just, from your experiences also, wherever if I am missing out on something, try to, just come in and just give a suggestion over here. So what we have tried to do over here is that these are the 31 questions, and against that, what could be the implementation challenges or what needs to be done from the, implementation guide. I've just listed out a few points over here. So as I said, 31 questions, about approximately 1 hour with me. So on an average, 2 minutes per question. But sometimes some questions which are important, I will take more time on that. So this section, human resource development, is broken up into 5 subsections. The first has 6 questions, and that is on the planning and monitoring of your full HR policy, how you monitor, plan. The second one, again, that is 28 marks. The second section has got 4 questions, and that is 44 marks. It talks about training. How do you do training? What is the policy for your training within your organization? The next question has the next section has got 14 questions, and that has got 104, and that is totally on the compensation, pay, how do you remunerate your staff, etc. So that's important. 104 marks on that. Next is on 3 questions, 32 marks maximum, which talks about qualified staff, use of experts, etc. And the last section is 4 questions, which has got 32 marks. It talks about the key performance indicators for partners, etc., etc. So now, so far, we've been hearing about so what I tell my staff is that it is important to do good work, but it is equally important to be able to demonstrate that you have done good work. So the same thing is with this full AQMM. Yes, you might be having policies. Some might be formal, some might be informal. You might be having some systems, but how do you demonstrate that you have carried out that would require a full documentation. So this is nothing but, how do you document what exactly you do? And from next year onwards, when this is going to become compulsory for certain, I think so what I understand from Durgesh is that 2,000 firms are going to get covered in the first phase that who do audits for listed companies and banks and insurance, etc., etc. So peer review process will start. So yes, it is either in your routine peer review process, or if a firm wants to publish the maturity model that it has, then it can suo moto ask the peer reviewer to come and do a review of the AQMM also. And then the firm, the institute will be, putting the maturity marks in that. Okay. So now coming to the first one on the resource planning and monitoring as per the firm's policy. So here, the implementation guide says, and what we will also have to do is that first and foremost thing, we'll have to have we have an audit manual or a HR manual that we have. So here, this particular session, we will be just talking about the development of the HR manual that we have. It talks about first and foremost thing that you have to have a formal policy which helps you in resource planning and monitoring the resources, the use of resources at all level of the engagement. So that means not only at the start of the audit or the audit planning stage, but also during each stage of your engagement that has been moved, at the middle stage, or maybe it's a long project, then maybe at the remitted review, then, at the year end, how you have monitored, how you have, your resources management and the planning takes place. So it talks about that. So also the aim of this particular monitoring or this policy should be that from your existing resources, how you can optimize your output is what this policy should cover. Then next is, again, as I told you, challenge in this would be only how do you document, because yes, as you'll go to this 31 different questions are there. So this itself, will help you that, okay, to have a reality check that what are your strong areas so that you can concentrate on and document, and also where you are scoring weak or where your scores are getting pulled down, in which areas your firm is not that matured, so that you can work towards that and, up your score in that. So the first question over here is that does the firm have a process of employee resource planning and engagement based on skill set required, experience, etc. So again, here it talks about the process of planning, the mix of the team members that you have, so therefore, skill, experience of that particular engagement. So therefore, at the time of planning of an engagement, whether the partner has sat with the engagement team or whether the partners, the assurance partners have sat together and decided that which will be the best person to be allocated for this particular engagement and how the resources have been moved, etc., is, a score that if you have that policy, then 4 marks. If you don't have that policy, then 0. So therefore, if you have a policy, you'll have to demonstrate that how you have utilized or in type of engagement. So therefore, as again, Vijay Bhai already said that maybe you can start off with the critical audits. Maybe, you might not, to start off with initially, you might not have all your engagements or all your assurance services in this, but maybe you categorize your, engagements either based on size or, public interest or risk assessment based on your risk. Categorize them and start off with the A category ones to have that policy. So therefore, the first is on the process planning. So if you have that process, then 4 marks. So these are some points over there. So naturally, sometimes the challenges for a middle level or the, firm is that you don't have resources only. Somebody will tell me I'm a 4-partner, a 3-partner firm, and my resources are, in all assignments, I use all my resources, So therefore, this would be challenge. But as you move forward, as you grow larger, you will have specialized people with specialized knowledge who will be suited for that particular, engagement or that particular audit itself. Maybe somebody might be experts in the financial services sector. Some people are not, savvy with that, or some are only expertise or they have expertises in manufacturing, services, etc., etc. Then the second question over here is that the use of tools or the methodology that you have to allocate the resources. So for that, if you are doing using a tool, so tool, it not necessarily means, yes, more preferably, it can be a practice management software. And we know that off the shelf, a lot of practice management softwares are now available. Even the institute has recommended a few, but larger firms have got proprietary softwares. Some firms like us possibly have got a system which is on Excel, which then goes to Tally. So therefore, that is how it is. So maybe you have that. So if you have that, if you are, of course, if you are using technology, then you have that additional scoring over here. It also talks about that. Okay, so here, what would be important when that, okay, resource. So therefore, the first one is planning. Second one is on using of the tool for monitoring how those particular you are using that software. And then here, what you need to document is, okay, I'm just missing. Here, the documentation that would be required over here is that the partners which are engaged with the assignment or with the engagement, what is their specific qualifications? What is their area, their, experience, the number of staff required, the breakup of staff required, that how many qualified, non-qualified audit assistants, some technical experts, etc., etc. So therefore, this monitoring, it could be a challenge, but yes, sometimes the monitoring happens weekly basis. What is the periodicity of this monitoring? Maybe at the end of every quarter, if it's an audit, then maybe once in a year, once in the full cycle of the operation, etc., etc. So that's how the second question talks about. The third question talks about it. Is there a method of tracking the employee activity to identify resource productivity? So that means how productive is your staff? That means this question is on the timesheet management. So again, we all know that even now, relatively smaller size of firms effectively are using timesheets, because maybe it's a different question over here that whether you are charging your client based on timesheets or no. But yes, timesheets are important to, to monitor that how much time has been spent, whether the time which has been spent has been actually spent productively or no. Or forget that, even if, sometimes a review of the timesheet management will give you that where some areas or where client, you spend more time on those clients. So maybe you can renegotiate the fees for the next year. So here it talks about 4 marks here. So if you have that timesheet management, of course, so technology is fine, but even here also, if you have simple Excel, then that also. So as I told you, for us, timesheet management, what we have done is we do it on Excel, but then that gets integrated into Tally. And from Tally, it's a simple thing. We can generate, of course, the challenge over here again would be that whether if you have the same staff working with multiple partners, with multiple assignments, then there would be a challenge. How do you monitoring that? But if you have a system, then all these questions are relatively taken care of as far as the review of productivity as far as the staff is concerned. Then the next question, again, now it is for 8 marks, and that is a challenge over here. Then that is that does the firm maintain a minimum staff to partner ratio, partner to manager, manager to article, and client to staff ratio? So here, first and foremost thing, my question is, what is the ideal ratio? It is so dynamic. It also depends from firm to firm, what type of assignments to assignments you are handling, it types of, geographical base of the firm, the type of clientele. So therefore, this could be a challenge over here, and 8 marks are allotted to here. So here, I mean, how do you document? What will you document? Because in my view, I myself, I don't realize that what is the ratio. Is ratio maybe, 10 clients to one partner, 15 clients to one partner? Is that correct? It's so relative, so therefore this could be a challenge, but I think so it will evolve over the period of time. Firms will realize, firms will do, and then once the peer review process happens, the institute also will get some feedback, and if anything more guidance on this particular point needs to come, it will come over the time, I think so. So this is where the question is. Then next is the 5th question. Does the firm monitor the utilization? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just missing out on that. The 5th question, does the firm monitor the utilization and realization rate per employee? So here, what is not covered over here is comparing the budgeted hours for an engagement and actual hours is not needed to be compared here. That goes in the first section, which Vijay Bhai covered earlier was. But here, what you need to do is that you need to see, this is something different, where our type of firm have not yet actually got into it. And if some of you all are doing it, then it's very nice. It talks about what is utilization. First and foremost thing, utilization is that, okay, if a person is available for maybe 25 days a month, 8 hours a day, 12 months. So maybe you multiply all that, that is his total hours. But out of which he's engaged on billable time, or he's engaged on client work only out of, say, rather than 25 days, on 20 days. 5 days he is not there. So maybe that is the utilization. That talks about the utilization. And the realization rate is, realization means, of course, this guidance is from the implementation guide of the institute only. Realization rate is, and that again is a challenge, how will we monitor is difficult. Realization rate is that, okay, he has worked on an engagement for 8 hours, but his output is only for 6 hours. Now, how do you judge that? That becomes very difficult to monitor. It becomes difficult to quantify only, first and foremost thing. Okay, there could be reasons. Client is not ready. Client is not giving the data. It could be multiple reasons, but it is a realization rate. So therefore, he was engaged in an engagement. He was, assigned for 8 hours, but his productivity came out only of 6 hours, only of 4 hours. Then his realization rate is 50% or 75%. So here, maybe again, you cannot or may not have it for all your assignments, but you might have to find out some assignments where you can actually do it. Because moving forward, many of our firms will get into this. And I think so, the proof of the, pudding is by eating it. As and when I, strongly recommend, more and more practical challenges, issues will come. And I'm sure you yourself will be able to find out solutions that when you start implementing, take this implement and start implementing in your firm, that, okay, if you were to grade, then what would be your marking that way? So that is what it is. So this it talks about. Next is, does the firm, the 6th question in this, does the firm document the resource plan for each and every engagement and file it referencing for during engagements for reference? So therefore, this full resource planning, that, as I told you, this full 6 question, first at the time of planning, then monitoring, productivity, efficiency, all this is it done for each and every engagement? And if it is done for engagement, it is documented or no? And documentation means that, yes, documentation helps in, as I told you, that it should be first and foremost thing easily retrievable. A peer review will come and they'll say, okay, give me. So you have this policy, but is it done regularly? All these steps are followed. That will be a challenge. So therefore you can easily retrieve it all from one particular input or one particular system is what we will have to devise. And for future reference, we can use it, because maybe for negotiating fees, you know, that type of client, that client, whether it is proactive, giving you information, keeping you on your toes, or it's a laid back client, only wakes up at the last moment. A lot of, time goes initially, and then only at the time, sometimes the quality would suffer if there is undue pressure at the last, So therefore, this is the full system. So therefore, this is basically 28 marks out of the overall this section has got 280 marks, I think so, 240 marks. So this 28 marks out of the 240 marks is covered in these first six questions. Second section over here is on employee training and development. First and foremost thing, it talks about policy. That do you have a training policy? Do you have a training calendar? And that it's a simple thing. You'll need to work on that as the firm's sizes grow, relatively larger firms, you need to have either periodic training, whether you are calling an external, person to, or because, okay, internally you have heard a lot of partners or seniors, you know what is their view, but sometimes it becomes important that you call an outsider from other than your firm for taking a training. That person will give a different perspective, or he will come, he will show you a different light, that in other firms, what is happening, in other industries, what is happening, or his experience. So therefore, a full policy that, okay, your policy would cover what? Your policy would only cover audit and assurance, or your audit and assurance staff also handle little bit of indirect tax, also handle little bit of FEMA, because all these issues come up during audit. So therefore, your full training calendar should be holistic. Your training calendar should be like, okay, I'm sharing our experiences. We have a vertical wise audit, training calendar, wherein initially we try to do 2 training programs in a month, but that becomes sometimes challenging, because when you have, hectic season for limited reviews, etc., but at least 4 training sessions with 1 external speaker during those 4 training. And sometimes even for an audit and assurance staff, or audit for a vertical, you have some different variety. So they come to know exactly, say, for example, we had organized just now, a training session on valuation for the audit and assurance staff. So it's that way. So whether, first and foremost thing, it talks about whether you have a policy in place for training. And of course, also the implementation guide also gives you guidance on which areas you can cover. You can cover, technology, IT areas, etc., to keep up to speed. And next is, okay, the next is again 24 marks question, marks you get in this particular question if you settle. And here it has got 3 different categories. So for 8 marks for each category. And this is for the number of hours of training complied. This is very simple, that if you have, a junior level, for junior level staff, you have 60 hours of training per year, and 2 marks for 60 hours and 6 marks for specialized training, IT, forensic, etc., Here, the implementation guide also encourages people, or the resources, to attend institute CPE programs, etc., plus internal, external training is there. So therefore, here 60 hours for junior staff, 30 to 60 hours for middle level, and 30 hours 30 hours for senior staff. I think so it should be the other way around. Senior staff require more CP credit. I think so it's that way. So, it should be, but anyway, so that's how it is. So 24 marks for that. Again, implementation challenges here would be, everybody would not be having, would not have, attended that much amount of training. Somebody would have attended less. So whether it should be, 60 hours for everyone It should be an average, whether you take all the CAs or all the people engaged in assurance or other CAs not included in assurance. So these would be challenges when actually a peer reviewer will go and visit, or we implement ourselves, when we try to grade ourselves, when we say, okay, let us see now all CAs and all partners in our team. Have we all had 30 hours, how much we've done? Then you will come across different, implementation challenges. But this is how it will cover. Again, this is what I feel, that no doubt training for technical areas is important. Training for new age technology, data mining and, or IT, etc. is important. But also training of soft skills is important. That how do you communicate? How do you speak? How do you write? In fact, implementation guide in some other questions also has some points for non-technical training, like, business etiquettes. These are the examples that the implementation guide only has given on leadership, etc., etc. So therefore, it has marks for those also, report writing, etc. So that's 24 marks in your pocket. The next 8 marks, most importantly, I need not spend time on that, which is 8 marks specifically for training in technology, on blockchain, artificial intelligence, data mining, etc., etc. These are the 3-4 areas that they have identified, but I don't know after this crypto whether blockchain technology stands or not. That's a different question. I don't think so. It's a discussion for today, but yes, 8 marks for this. So if you are using, done training, how to use analytical, tools, how you are using, computer aided audit technologies, etc., etc., then you have 8 marks for that. Training, this not use, it's on the training part of it. The use comes in the practice management. In the earlier, here it is only on training, that if you have had in your training calendar this particular topic, if you've covered regularly, then you have 8 marks for that. The next question again for 8 marks is that whether the firm has a performance management culture that rewards high performers, employees, those who demonstrate high level of activity and ethics. So this is the question again on that. So what we, also feel is that training should not be just a tick in the box approach. Actually, the full culture of training should be taken very seriously. And also, we have been observed that, okay, sometimes since training is not billable, it brings down your, as I told you, your realizable rate, because, you are employed, but, utilization rate, sorry, that you are, but it's not billable. So therefore, you should have a right balance. You should have senior people in charge of training. But actually in the same place, whether the training is meaningful or it is just take in the box where, somebody is coming and giving a lecture and, just people are attending, doing their work. Now with online training, they're doing, they're attending to client call also, and just the training session is going on. No. So to encourage, so what I'm just giving it, what we did was that during the training session itself, we had this multiple choice questions, and we started, we started judging people that by the questions, the answers that they were giving. So we came to know that how many people were attentive. Because don't worry, I'm not going to do here. I'm not going to ask you questions, so I won't want to judge you all that how attentive you all are. But that is what it came. So therefore, the seriousness in training came. Otherwise, the seriousness in training never comes, unless and until it's an offsite and all that. That's a different issue. So that brings to the close of the second session on the session that was on 44 marks. It talks about, okay, this last point of which I did not cover is that, whether you have a, proper mapping process or mechanism wherein you have an evaluating process. So here, this particular session, this section on HR management not only talks about evaluation of resources or team members, but it also talks about evaluation of partners. So therefore, I just like to, so therefore I'm mixing those 2 points because partners come later on in the section, but the evaluation process of staff comes here. So therefore, this talks about, how do you evaluate performance, what is the periodicity that you are doing it. So I'm covering both the, that point also and this point also at this point of time. So whether you have a, what is the first frequency, Are you, have a, process of feedback every quarter, at the end of every engagement, 6 monthly, annually? How frequently are doing it? Plus, is it a formal process or it's just, okay, what is your age, year of qualification, what you've done, and I like you, I don't like you, so 10% increment, 7% increment. No, it does not work that way. In smaller firms, this is not a question because you can pay any person anything. But as you grow larger, as you have multiple layers or hierarchies, it becomes difficult because you have to maintain equilibrium between others, and sometimes a typical traditional firm would be, okay, are you ready to pay more to a particular vertical, same qualification, same entry level? Are you ready to pay more to indirect tax because you're not getting people there? Are you ready to pay in the FEMA or in the transaction advisory or in the advisory because they bring in more work, their contribution is more? Are we ready for all that? Are we ready to go that way? You eat what you kill, etc., etc. So these are very softer issues. We need to address all these issues, and then move forward. Again, is your monetary compensation, the next is on the resource turnover and compensation. As I told you, 104 marks on that. But before that, is your monetary package linked to your performance or only based on favoritism or only based on seniority? No, it cannot be on seniority. Seniority has to be part of it, but more on technical competence. How has been your performance? How good you have fared in your review, etc., etc., should also be considered. So that's how it is. Then the next is on resource turnover and compensation. Again, I told you 104 marks for this and 14 sub questions are this, that yeah. The implementation guide talks about three things over here. It talks about, first and foremost thing, encouraging women workforce also, whether you have a work from home culture, a flexible timings, etc., etc. So as I told you, today's most, area where we are competing most is what? Is talent. Not only because less and less number of people are preferring to do CA, because if you see the entrance in the CA course is reducing, plus after qualification, less people are willing to continue in practice because industry is more attractive, more glamorous, more remunerative, more paying, etc. So there are challenges. So how do you maintain your staff? Because I believe, and even in the AQMM, is that, continuity of staff improves the quality. That is what the main thinking behind it. So first is, does the firm evaluate a team compensation overall to build the team strength, number of managers, assistant, paid assistants? So first and foremost thing, whether you have resources at every level, whether you have adequate partners, adequate directors, adequate senior managers, managers, assistant managers, executives, juniors, whatever can be the hierarchy of the particular firm. So based again on the size, nature of audits nature of assignments that you are getting, or nature of engagements that you are doing, the geographical where you are, this would depend upon that. So first and foremost thing it talks about, do you have this particular model or no? And also it encourages, the implementation guide says that, are you using, if you are not getting adequate members from the profession, are you using other professionals? Like, for example, are you keeping a company secretary? Are you using ACCAs? These all examples are from the implementation guide only. Are you using MBA? Of course, MBA was not mentioned over there, but today we see a lot of firms, larger firms, take ACCA, take MBAs for other type of work. MBAs in finance, etc., etc. Maybe not suited for assurance, but maybe for the GRC or for internal audit, they could be, could be good resources. They could give out good outputs. So 8 marks for that. The next question on that is, again, 8 marks is, it talks about, does the firm maintain and monitor the employee turnover ratio, and identify measures to keep it to the minimum. Again, here, mind you, no marks for higher or lower turnover, marks for a system to monitor. Do you have this system to monitor? Because of course, we all know higher turnover definitely means spending more money. You get them, train them. Once they are useful, again, you leave them. So what is the turnover of your, firm? So therefore, at the time, do you have the full system that you are monitoring your turnover, that what was your turnover, maybe if not quarterly, then 6 monthly or maybe yearly, that what was the opening size or what were the team members that you had at the beginning, how many new joinees, how many left, reasons for people leaving, either because of work, because of some interpersonal reason, because of compensation, etc., etc. All that you need to have a full policy or a mechanism for monitoring. If you have that, then you get 8 marks. And if you have that monitoring, it cannot be that, okay, a partner, talks to him, ke bhai, kyun chhod ke ja raha hai salary. You need to document that, because if a peer reviewer will come, you will say, I have this mechanism, but how will you demonstrate that you will have this mechanism? It would be a challenge, I think. Therefore, that is there. Then the implementation guide talks about how do you, keep, turnover to the minimum. You give them flexibility. It also talks about that, do you want to rotate team members within practice areas, etc., etc. So again, this is debatable. It is covered in the other questions also, but I will, just spend 2 minutes on that when we come to that. Then it also talks about whether you are allowing, flexible time hours. Are you allowing work from home, etc., etc. How, employee friendly you are. Are you optimizing your hiring process itself, The third question over here is that qualified professionals retained by the firm, resources available to the partner. Here it is purely based that per partner, if you have 10 and above per partner, then you have 20 points. From 8 to 9, 16 points. 6 to 7 per partner, 12. So this is on a firm full overall basis. Now here again, of course, implementation guide is silent on that. We'll have to find a way on that, that whether you would include all CAs who are not in assurance function also as available for partners. Will you take partners only doing assurance services? Because AQMM only covers assurance services. It does not cover advisory. So therefore, whether which team, if you have some CAs or some team members who are doing mix or multiple work also, how do you do that? So therefore, that is how it is. So that's how it is. Then here it is purely, the scoring is purely based on number. Next is, does the firm evaluate the employee retention within the firm? That is the number of professional versus number of, last year, as I just told you, to identify reasons for turnover. So this is what I was saying, that 4 marks for this, that are you identifying and documenting the reasons why people have left? We also, many firms also, I'm not saying we, a lot of firms do an exit interview, wherein I think so it is one-to-one where partners are not involved. A frank feedback comes that I am leaving because my senior was not kind to me. I have not been giving the work that I would like. I am, late sittings is a problem. A lot of feedback comes is that, okay, we are spending the same amount of hours. We have a notion that, okay, people who come to us from Big Four are that, they cannot take the work pressure and they come to us, they want, a work-life balance. But when they work with us, we realize that they are putting equal number of hours, but the pay package is different. So then at the time of exit interviews, we get a lot of feedback. We are working as hard as our earlier employment, but compensation is a difference of 20%, 15%. So all that becomes a challenge. At least you are aware of that. So therefore, this you get 4 marks for that at the time of exit interview, and reverse feedback is always frank and, it helps. You should take it positively for the, to reduce the turnover in your firm. Then next is, again, an important point, which I feel is that, is the firm encouraging or does the firm have statutory contributions, whether applicable or no, health insurance, other benefits available in the form of staff members and partners? So therefore, if you have, it has 8 marks. that, okay, forget the, statutory PF or the gratuity, whatever you pay. But besides that, do you have accidental cover? Do you have medical? And now after this lockdowns, after COVID and all that, this has become more prominent and it has increased the cost of service to a firm. So if it is there, if you have all these welfare schemes, then not only for, it talks about partners and, the resources or the chartered accountants or the team members, but also sometimes many firm covers immediate family members, either husband, wife, or, dependent parents, etc., or whatever that is. So therefore, it talks about that. So if you have that full package or, social security or not social security, but at least these, welfare scheme, then 8 marks if you have them. Then the next is on, does the firm evaluate for which kind of audits? Does it have a revolving door for people below partner level? Now, I mean, this was, to be very frank, revolving door was a new concept to me. So I read that and the implementation guide gives that only. A revolving door in the context of the audit firm means the people joining and leaving the organization quickly. So that means, like in banks, we have early mortality cases. So therefore it's like that they join and within 3 months, 6 months, they leave. Why? Because they never got settled. What was the reason? So therefore, does the firm evaluate these kinds that, why the difference between, why people have that? And here it also talks about that whether the firm evaluates the audits which have a revolving door between different engagements for people below the partner level or not. So this question not only, so therefore that was the meaning of the revolving door, that people leaving and going. But here, does it also cover, here it talks about engagement level. So if you have a partner and he has a particular director reporting to that, do you have a policy that that director is not only working for this partner, but that director or that manager or that person is also used for by some other partner for some other engagement? Are you rotating people? So this is the typical question which was, highlighted by Vijay in the earlier session, was that whether you have, rotation policy. Sometimes they say that there's a familiarity threat, so you require rotation. But you look at it from the client side. Would you like, every quarter or every year a new person doing the audit? Because a lot of time will go. So you have to find out, at balance, if that particular person is suited for that and knows the client. And if you are engaged with the client for a period of 3 years or so, then I think so that should be fine. But here it talks about only on the presence, that if you have that, then 4 marks. So I'm not very sure whether the rotating door policy works in the, interest of the quality or it works detrimental. I'm not too sure on that, but just now it says that if you have that below the partner level, then 4 marks. Then it says progress of people through an established framework and time commitment of managers and partners, engagement time review, and overall performance evaluation and reward point mechanism for different performance. So here, first and foremost thing, do you have a formal performance review process? Do you have a, an annual, it does not talk about the frequency, but it just talks about, that whether you are getting rewarded based on your performance. And if you are getting rewarded, and we know many type of firms have got, okay, this is your basic pay and your performance incentive based on your performance. Now, how are you evaluating that? Do you have a formal process, informal process? So many of the large firms, and I know that they have a well-documented formal process. And I would just like to share a couple of experiences that, I've had with discussing with other firms of the same size and all that. So a good ideal process would be that first and foremost thing, you let that person evaluate himself, let him select based on the time spent. The time sheet again important comes over here, that which are the important or crucial, assignments or engagements that he has handled. Let him come back and based on the predetermined parameters, let him judge himself and sit with the engagement partner or with the partner he has spent time for that particular engagement. Maybe if he has used, he's used by 1 or 2 other partners, let the partners jointly sit with him and give him that feedback. And more objective, the better it is on different parameters, laid down predetermined parameters. You communicate to him or communicate to the team that these are the parameters where you will be judged. Because sometimes, many a time, no, I get that feedback also. हाँ इंसेंटिव तो मिला लेकिन कौन से बेसिस पे मिला इंसेंटिव मालूम नहीं, क्यों 15% मिला, क्यों 20% नहीं मिला, उसको क्यों 20 मिला, मेरे को क्यों 15 मिला, आई डोंट नो. So if these laid down, this reduces the subjectivity that, okay, that person evaluates himself and gives the marks to himself, and then we sit with him and we give him his feedback. So that not only brings subjectivity, but it also helps, in him improving next year in certain areas where he has not. So, when feedback, when I sit for feedback, I always give, areas, that, okay, you do this good, you do it better. And this is where you require improvement. So it goes that way. And also sometimes in this, a two-way feedback, we also get to hear from the team that what is happening, some politics is happening, or something the team is not good with, or something not happening, well with the team. That feedback also comes to us at that time, that what were his problem in that particular assignment, that comes to us. So therefore, that's the full system on that. Then so 8 marks for this particular system, whether you have this, your rewards or monetary is based on your performance in sective, etc. And also it not only implementation guide gives that, okay, not only monetary policy, but not monetary compensation, but are you rewarding him? Okay, if he's good or his review has been good, are you giving him better engagements? Are you giving him challenging engagement? If you have a global presence, if you are moving in geographically, are you giving his additional responsibility, etc.? Then the next question is access to use of technology, infrastructure, methodology for better improvement for day-to-day work, including favorable remote working policies. So therefore, this is just simple that are you using technology for your full evaluation? If it is, then 8 marks. If not, then you get no marks on this. So I'm not too sure that whether, firms, relatively, smaller size of firms, whether they'll be able to score marks over here or no, it would be difficult and only time will say. Then coaching and mentoring programs, investment, especially for women colleagues to enhance the diversity of audit leaders in the profession. Again, 8 marks. It only implementation guide just talks about that, are you encouraging gender neutrality? Are you encouraging women? Because whatever happens is that, we know that, a lot of stability comes, and I am of that opinion. Maybe I might not be liked from here, but I am of that opinion that a lot of stability comes if we have a women workforce, because we have a lot of women workforce. And, because they will not jump if their atmosphere is good, if they like the environment, if they like it, then they are not going to move for 500, 1,000, 5,000 rupees. Men usually do that, but at the same time, we should encourage, because we know that sometimes they have to take care of home, sometimes family is there and, all those pressures. So whether we have flexibility enough for them or no, so that's what it is. Moving forward, then special policies to provide people time to rejuvenate, especially after busy audit season. I need not mention this, team dinners. Now so we have engagement dinners also. Ye audit ho gaya, let's go for dinner. Team, okay, ye season ho gaya, let's go for dinner. And plus over and above that, the firm's annual picnics are there, the firm annual dinners are there, etc., etc. So therefore, whether for that, if you are doing that, I usually like to take my, team, to, if there's a reasonable, size, take them for a movie. Last time I had taken them for a movie, Rohit Shetty movie. This time also Rohit Shetty movie has come, but only 2 stars are there. So I'm planning not to take them. So that's how it is. So it builds camaraderie. Sorry, it builds camaraderie. So 4 marks for that. So I'll get 4 marks for that then. Then focus policies and support for staff well-being, engagement, and communicated. So this specially talks about the overtime. Again, 8 marks for this. I'm not too sure whether why, 8 marks, for that, whether, and the guidance notes only says that, okay, are you providing, food if you are working overtime, etc., etc. But this talks about that, other than, the first one is you're giving time to rejuvenate, audit season ho gaya, are you giving them 15 days? Are you giving them block leave, etc., etc. The next question talks about other well-being and the engagement. Is it communicated? Are you having those? 8 marks for that. Then, and does the firm have an established mechanism to listen to people and their views and suggestions, credible employee surveys, and its outcome demonstrated how well people are, taken care and heard? So here again, are you having a policy of your open house, town hall, which are, now called? So are you having that? I will give you one example. I'm talking about 15, 20 years ago, we had Saturday workings for article clerks. And suddenly, we were realized that good article clerks were not coming only to us. Then we had this town hall for CAs and all that. When we did that, I'm talking about 15 years, maybe more than that also. And the feedback from the CAs are that, sir, you give Saturday off. Then you see, and actually it helped. We gave Saturday off for articles. Mansi is there laughing away to glory. She knows that. We gave Saturday off. I don't know whether you were pre-Saturday or post. So she's enjoyed that benefit. So we got that, and we really got good people coming in our organization, you know. So these all, you know, it's always two-way, you know, you should be open for this. So that's how it is. Then standards of recruitment. So this full, you know, the next question 12 is again 4 marks, that what is your full recruitment process? Are you have a formal documented recruitment process, or you just, you know, jo bhi aata hai usko le lo right now? So maybe it's like that in any firm, we don't know. But whether you are doing a background check, whether, you know, you're having a written assessment, you know, again, I understand that larger firms have a very process. Sometimes it becomes red tapeism. Sometimes, you know, to get into a big four, it takes 1 month. And here probably in some other firms, you know, 3-4 days mein ho jata hai wo. Written test, HR round, technical round, partner round, again, background check, take some, you know, from your ex-employees, etc. So you see what type of organization you are and try to bring about the balance, policy that you have. But again, 4 marks if you have a standardized process for recruitment. Next is again, the 14th and the last 4 marks for this is, are employees and firms compensated as per the defined approach where salary is mapped to the knowledge and experience level of the employee. So here, how is your increment cycle? Do you give mid-year increment or once in a year? What is your promotion process? You know, okay, if you are good, you know, I mean, is it well documented? So full 4 marks if you have this full documented. So I'm telling you, if you get into the documentation, actually, you know, we will do what we are documenting, you know, so actually it will help. So moving forward, you know, for the firms which are not having it, it's encouraged. Next question is on again, 3 more questions in this set. First, 12 marks is that what is the number of professional qualified available in the firm? So therefore, again, up to 30%, 4 marks. So here it talks about only calculating ACAs and FCAs. That if you have up to 30% of your total staff, 4 points, more than 30 to 50%, 8 points, and more than 50% of your staff is the CAs or FCAs, then straight away 12 points. Again, here, I mean, I don't want to mention it, but the peer review challenge will be that, will you take an average for 3 years? Because peer review will happen for 3 years. Or will you take yearly separate, or will you take an average? So which period you will consider? Immediately preceding, or, you know, your period ka peer review ho raha hai, etc., etc. So this could be some challenges. Next question, again, 8 marks here is that post-qualification. These are very simple. You need not worry about that. That if you're having these post-qualification, CISA, DISA, etc., then you get post-qualification staff you are having, then yes, 8 marks. If not there, it also talks about, okay, now with insolvency professionals and all that, so whether you have those insolvency professionals on your staff or no, so whether it's just on presence. Yes, if you have 8 marks, if you don't have, so whether it is fair, not fair, I mean, it's a question mark. Next is members with specialized courses or certification. So here it talks about, you know, international diplomas on IFRS, or, you know, some other gaps, or, you know, etc., etc. Specialized courses, forensic, valuation, etc. So if you have those type of people on the firm, up to 30%, 4 marks, 30 to 50%, 8 marks, and more than 50%, again 12 marks for this. So that takes care of specialized services. And if not there, if you don't have specialized, then in your firm, are you using the services of experts in your firm while undertaking your engagement? So maybe some firms might not be having IT strength, but they have a tie-up with other IT specialists or something firm, so they are taking their resources. So maybe whether that falls into whether your peer reviewer is getting convinced or no, it's a question. Last and the, you know, last 3 or 4 questions which are there on this is, the last 2.5 is on this is that, first and foremost thing, does the firm have written KPIs for performance of the firm and partners? So as I told you, that not only for the employees, but for partners itself, does it have performance indicators? So therefore, what is expected from partners? Should be face of the firm, should be technically qualified, client should be comfortable, etc., etc. So therefore, those are laid down KPIs. And sometimes it also becomes important to take a feedback from the team members that how is the partner behaving? Is he reasonable? Is he showing favoritism? It happens. All these challenges are there. So therefore you get that feedback. So not only, so if you have that full mechanism for appraisal of partners also, what is the frequency? Then you have 8 points for that. You have to have a document for that. So that's 8 marks. I mean, there's a lot of that we can discuss on this, but due to the paucity of time, I'm just giving you the key pointers. Next is method and measurement of evaluation as mentioned above and determine specific. So how do you evaluate the performance? Now, this is a very subjective and very debatable topic that, again, as you grow, your firm grows, you will have to address this. The the implementation guide has given these ratios, these scores. And these are, it does not say that you follow these only, but these are an indicative list. It also said that you need not follow all of them. But how do you evaluate the performance? Are you going to evaluate more objectively? What is the contribution of the partner? Is he contributing to the other initiatives of the firm? Is he helping other partners in not only cross-selling or getting the work, but also sharing of his resources, or he wants everything to himself? No, this is my team member. I will not allow you because, okay, cost will allocate, but the revenue will get to the another partner. So these are very sensitive, debatable topics, which sometimes, disturb the, the harmony amongst the partners or amongst some of the firms. And this, again, I tell you, it will not be understood if you have not actually dealt with this. The more larger you go, the more important it becomes. It's a very soft skill, software issues over there. So these are certain indicators that what is the, staff turnover, whether, client turnover is there. It talks about, client feedback, your profitability per assessment, per engagement, etc., etc. So therefore, if you have that process, if you can demonstrate, so again, it's not on performance that you have, contribution of more than 80% in all your assignments, then you get, no, it's only on the existence of a process, good or bad. But if you have that, then you have 8 marks for that. Many of our firms are not ready for this yet. Next is maybe informally we might be doing it, but not formally. Next is there is a, there is a decided frequency for evaluation and is consistently applied. So what is the partner of appraisal? What is the policy? Whether it is done annually, once in 2 years, when are the, profit sharing ratios reworked? When is the remuneration again done? So policy hai to 8 marks, nahi hai to nothing. And the last, again, 8 marks on this was that our engagement partners reviewed based on the review results of the engagement of each partner. So therefore, again, is the quality of the partner or the performance of the partner also depending upon how he has scored in the quality review, which was earlier mentioned, that in the quality reviewer were any major observations or many, non-compliances were found, any audit, I won't say the word audit failures, but mistakes, or where audit needed to be reworked, etc., at that stage. So if you have a process and, does your process of actually, rewarding or disrewarding a partner depend upon this also? So if it depends upon that, then 8 marks are there. So that covers the, the 31 questions. So therefore this particular, had 240 marks on the HR issues. I think so as far as, our type, firms are there, this is the area where we'll have to work the maximum, because yes, we might be having, but policies, we might be having informal processes, but would not have been properly documented. So this is where the challenge would come. And I would just like to conclude by saying that, yes, without making a judgment call, that yes, there are certain areas which the AQMM requires improvement. It requires certain amounts of additional guidance. But I think so this is the right step, first step towards actually having something in black and blue, some objective effort has been made. And I think so all of us should work together to make this work implemented, and actually water will find its own level. And maybe in the next versions coming, a lot of things will be clarity and a lot of, improvements will be there. I think so I would just end by this and wouldn't take much of your time and wouldn't like to come between you and lunch and you and Christmas. And if there are any questions, Vijay bhai and myself, we are here to take it. Thanks a lot.
I think excellent sessions by both of you all and Durgesh also. Just to share, I mean, more than a question, just to share the thoughts which went in our office or when this first came in was, I mean, what is this new animal and is it really required? But the more you read it, the more you understand that, as Vijay said, perhaps we are doing it, we are not documenting it. Or as you said, that we have to evolve ourselves. And there are some new concepts which even as of now, I'm not very clear. Revolving door, the way you explained, the way I understood first time, and the way some of our guys from office did some research on revolving door, there are 4 different definitions. Even as when today, I'm still not sure what revolving door is. Secondly, and perhaps Durgesh can answer that, he said that we can upload on the Center for Audit Excellence our own evaluation and everything. From a point of, and so there can be an AQM reviewer who can have a look at it. I would like to understand, or maybe Durgesh can confirm that all this would be kept confidential. It's one thing mentioning the score, another thing uploading all these responses onto a public website, which would be encrypted or whatever. I mean, but we would really like the institute to put its neck out and say that this information which is uploaded by a firm will remain confidential and not used for any purposes. I mean, I think ICAI also will not have the power to evaluate those unless there is an occasion needed to evaluate those. That's a comfort which is required. Otherwise, I'll be very frank over here. A person like me will not upload it. The questions on the CAQ level, it can come whoever is entitled for a review to do that. That's one aspect. The second aspect was, again, where I would really like the institute or to relook at things like the words artificial intelligence, blockchain are used very loosely in the document. Even the world is not very sure of what is artificial intelligence and what is blockchain. Forget using it for an audit documentation. I mean, when we discuss in office, Anagan had said that if I use a data analytic tool or I use an Excel, it throws up exceptions. Is that artificial intelligence good enough to demonstrate for the purpose of AQMM? So that's one. Before AQMM becomes mandatory, if institute can provide clarity on that. Blockchain as an audit tool, we are far away. I think it should not be there in this AQMM. The way blockchain use cases are still developing. The managements will first use them and then the auditors will use them as an audit tool. So we are away from blockchain. My sincere request is to remove blockchain from the AQMM and redefine artificial intelligence as an audit execution tool, only because we don't use that term holistically the way artificial intelligence is. So these are things, but I completely agree. A step in the right direction. Perhaps it has set us thinking into how we can document what we are doing. We've been really doing those aspects, but we just need to document it, especially on the HR side where we have to do the evaluations and everything. So that's it from me. Yeah.
It's just an actually observation. And these points on confidentiality, I also totally agree with this, that no firm would like to, a score is a different issue, but the evaluation process, which I think so the institute should take care.
Sir, I have noted down your point. Durgesh sir is not there online. So definitely I'll forward to them. And also you also can forward him to directly. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so thank you so much, Manish sir, for the very detailed and very interactive and informative session on HR policies and everything. And I would like to present heartfelt gratitude to all the 3 speakers for today. for sparing your valuable time with us today here and sharing your knowledge with all of us. Thank you so much. So we are closing here today and let us join for the lunch. Thank you.